There's a certain jealousy and resentment that naturally surfaces in them for Robyn. Hey everyone, hey guys. Hello again, I'm Emma. If you're not already subscribed, do please subscribe and thumbs up this video. It's hard to feel any sympathy for Kody Brown, especially if you've been a loyal fan of Sister Wives. The once carefree and charming polygamous villain has now become a mere shadow of who he used to be over the course of 19 seasons. The father of 18 has mastered the art of snapping at people, and he continues to blame everyone else for the downfall of the family except for himself. But recently, this 18-year-old father did admit there are a few things he wishes he could undo. Kody Brown of Sister Wives regretted rejecting his love. His apology is something you don't hear him utter too frequently. And while his recent comments aren't so much an apology, they do reveal a little about his motives. This conversation took place during the latest episode of Sister Wives, where Robyn Brown was once again crying over the situation with their once large family. I think the biggest thing is whether or not you're able to process it enough to be yourself again, she said to her husband. I know you've been extremely angry. Kody responded, I'm sorry, and I know I've been in a bad place. I'm sorry. I'm not keeping anything back. I'm sorry to you. Fans worldwide would have been looking out of their windows, wondering if hell had indeed frozen. In case you hadn't seen that one, no, it didn't. Kody went on to express more of his feelings in his confessional. Plural marriage is hard, he said to us. I'm trying to get over it, but I'm kinda arrogant and cocky about the way I do things to fight my feelings. He continued, from my egocentric perspective, I thought it was just tough for me, but I had no clue how tough of a fight this was going to be for my wives. Kody Brown attributed his resentment to the breakup with the Sister Wives and explained, all that terrible stuff I said about not loving my wives, that was me just trying to get a grip on how I felt about it. This shocked Robyn and fans alike. As he confessed, I was bullshitting myself. Oh yeah, I told myself I wasn't affected by this. I told myself those nasty women were no longer in my life because that was my only defense. I was just saying a lot of nonsense. I never loved them anyway. That's what divorce does to you. In a recent People interview, Kody unveiled, moving on is still one of those things where after a divorce, you're bitter and angry, and you kind of feel like God doesn't exist. You need to come back into the sunlight. That's the test. I think we're at a breaking point where I'm letting the sun come back in. Sister Wives viewers can't help but notice Kody attempting to sabotage his last remaining relationship. For season 18, he fought with Robyn and even left set during filming. It's not difficult to notice that Kody still blames his first 3 marriages for their breakdowns, even as he attempts to move forward. Sister Wives viewers won't be so quick to be deceived by Kody's actions, however. Unhappily, it seems Kody will never gain the favor of Sister Wives fans once more, no matter what he does. Kody recently baptized Robyn and his own daughter earlier this season, and while fans watched awkwardly, his family considered it to be a nice gesture. Most of the individuals still thought he was trying to insert himself into an experience that did not require inserting. Kody talks louder with his deeds than with words. Even in an attempt to apologize or right a wrong, he's been estranged from his older kids for years now, and he hasn't even called them. Meri Brown has recently complained about how she was treated by Tamron Hall on the Tamron Hall show. Their relationship just vanished, according to Kody's first wife. I'm grieving a lot, Meri admitted. Not from the marriage, but after it was over. I'm grieving that our divorce wasn't as good as I'd hoped, so we could be kind to each other. This year, Kody Brown of Sister Wives is transforming when he leaves behind being a polygamist. Robyn Brown, his last wife, is concerned for the future and afraid that it will not be enough for him in a monogamous union. It is a valid fear because Kody has been a polygamist so long. In addition to Robyn and his 3 ex-wives, Kody has 18 kids. After Christine Brown left him in 2021, things started to fall apart. Robyn is the last one remaining, then Janelle and Meri shortly thereafter. Sister Wives Kody Brown is done with polygamy. His wife, Robyn, whom he married in 2014, has spoken out regarding issues with their relationship and whether it can be sustained as an effective working relationship. Spiritual belief was at the core of this dynamic, yet, as the years passed, the underpinnings of polygamy began to erode. The golden early years that were so full of hope and noble aspirations slowly came to be replaced by bitterness, suspicion, and alienation. The one man who was meant to hold everyone together became the symbol of the family's disintegration. Known for his reluctance to take responsibility, Kody's recent emotional conversation with his last remaining partner took many by surprise. Her tears weren't born of anger, but of sorrow, a quiet mourning over the state of their family. In response, Kody offered words that were rarely heard from him. "I'm sorry." His apology was genuine, if not theatrical or over-emotional. Rather, it seemed like a crack in the formerly frozen earth, a fissure from someone who had spent so long avoiding blame and pointing fingers. It was here that Kody seemed to finally understand what so many had for years, that he had not been alone in his misery. His wives, the women who had once nurtured him through partnership, faith, and loyalty, had endured burdens he would not know. Their autonomy he had regarded as betrayal, their misery rebellion for years. But now, faced with the emotional ruins of what had been, he knew how blind he had been. In a rare moment of candor, he admitted that his arrogant pronouncements of no longer being in love with his former wives were protective lies, a defense against pain he could not articulate. Those words were never spoken truly, he realized. They had been a shield, a way of protecting himself from the pain of the dissolution of his marriages. He even conceded that his own pride had prevented him from being healed. He had chosen anger over confronting his flaws and facing his pain. In the process, he had lost friends, family, and lovers, all in an attempt to appear unaffected by the rejection, by the sting of being abandoned, and by the hurt of broken relationships. It was not until now that he understood how profoundly those schisms had hurt him. And as he begins to process these emotions, he's realizing that healing takes more than time. At times of crisis, integrity has to be paramount, and the humility to realize that the image Kody so angrily attempted to present was not only damaging people who cared for him from the inside out, but was also deceiving people who viewed him from the outside in. He would have hurled such admissions as weakness in the past, but he has traveled far. The man who once believed he knew it all has been bruised by the weight of his losses, by popular disapprobation, and by self-imposed exile. Now, he's starting to question himself instead of rationalizing every move he makes. Without his former family arrangement, he's left wondering, who is he? How did he lead to the destruction of that family? Can he redeem himself in the eyes of the people he hurt? Every scene from this season showcases the consequences of his actions in the past. There's clear tension with his former partners, and the gap between him and his older children seems too wide to cross. Even the one relationship he attempted to keep is tense. His attempts at message control and determining how the people view him are failing, even in front of the cameras. Even what are meant to be celebratory moments, significant milestones in his children's life, are tainted by awkwardness. Audience members didn't care about him standing next to his living partner to view a religious milestone in their daughter's life. They were the majority, having an uncomfortable air, as though he was seeking to reclaim his place by upholding issues not related to him. Meanwhile, his past wives are also looking ahead. In a recent public comment, his past first girlfriend lamented that their split had not been handled with more sensitivity. Rather than being broken-hearted over the demise of love, her sadness was how they treated one another at the split. Her remark was merely confirmation that everyone already knew. Love breakups aren't necessarily heartbreaking, but the manner in which they occur is where the real pain lies. Still, Kody continues to fight taking responsibility. At times, he still points outward rather than inward, blaming others for his disintegration. But those who have observed this journey might see something he does not. Not taking responsibility for one's role in the hurt doesn't provide redemption. Only by taking responsibility, looking inward, learning, and changing can true atonement be found. there remains an open question. As he now finds himself at the crossroads of his past and his future, will he be left behind guilt and ego, or will he weather the discomfort of introspection and metamorphosis? What the future brings remains to be seen, but it will require more than apologies to rebuild the trust that has been broken. For the man who once held a family together with promises of faith and unity, it will require consistency and, above all else, humility. Perhaps, in time, he will come to understand that leadership is not control, and love is not domination. Perhaps he will eventually learn the lesson he was never able to learn, the silent strength of the women who walked away. And perhaps he will start to listen. The story occurs in the small moments where healing begins. A letter is written, a phone call is made, an honest acknowledgement of remorse, not in grand gestures or dramatic scenes. Meanwhile, people wait, hoping for growth, not a reunion, for the man who once had so many hearts to finally take his own. The world of the man who once willingly embraced a life founded on joint enterprises and multiplying kinship ties has been scattered by the winds of change. As the sun sets on the horizon of an age of communal living and shared sacred ties, he stands poised on the brink of a new and simpler, more isolated existence. As time passed, what had once been a house full of complex relationships, intertwined hopes, and shared expectations narrowed to a room where only two people were trying to establish a solid footing on untested emotional terrain. The last woman standing in this intricate web, his new partner, the one who clung tight when the others let go, finds herself engaged in a silent struggle. Her heart trembles with doubt, the very same which had once supplied her belief in the vows of their chosen path. She questions herself silently whether this new shape of their relationship will be enough so that they may remain together while seeing her partner shed the values and shape which had brought them to each other in the first place. There is a bit of truth in her worry. Her life partner has been characterized for many years by the framework of a communal marriage, which allowed him to provide attention to a number of children and lovers, all of whom thrived due to the relationships. Their journey was at one time a fertile. What was once an exhibition of domestic ambition and religiosity, chronicled over the seasons by wondering passers-by, now seems to be discreetly unraveling. The ripple effect began when one of the wives chose to address the spiritual imbalance and psychic burden she had carried in silence. Her act was followed by a second, then a third. What was left was a quieter household, where the last woman attempted to rebuild her life from the shards left behind. Now, there are signs of wear on the man who previously oozed confidence in his occupation. He seems to have come to the bracing realization that he no longer wants the weight of having to support multiple relationships. The idea that he could juggle hearts and homes under the sanction of God is no longer valid. Recently, he candidly spoke in plain, untainted, and unfettered language, wherein he admitted that he is fed up with the emotional battles, the turmoil, and the gnawing uncertainty surrounding loyalty and trust that accompany plural love. His other partner now has doubts she never imagined having. She had always presumed that living with other women and sharing the emotional and spiritual burdens would be her life's path. Being an exclusive partner to someone was unknown, barely conceivable. In a marriage once meant for multiples, she is now the only partner. Privately, she grapples with uncertainty. Her voice cracks, not in fear of abandonment, but in uncertainty about whether their relationship, as it stands, can last. She questions herself, are we enough for each other now? Is this where it ends? Or will the door to the old way open again someday? These are not fleeting thoughts. These are the thoughts of a woman who founded her life on universal ideals, now forced to reconcile those ideals with reality. His words are not vague. He believes that the life he has left behind has cost him. It no longer brings him joy. With regret, he reminisces about the past few years of their shared life, labeling them as burdensome, hurtful, and not peaceful. He speaks about leaving the model of collective family behind as being a shock, an emotional awakening. The call that forced him to leave at once now seems a decision he has come to accept. No longer does he yearn for the complexities of multiple entanglements, He now finds the idea of having several lovers, balancing expectations, and negotiating emotional landscapes exhausting. Despite their efforts, he's resolute. His words ring with the tone of a man who has lost something of himself in the unraveling. He confesses that bitterness still quietly resides in the corners of his heart, not only for what he's lost, but for what he once so fervently believed. He had once been proud to call himself a plural husband, but time and experience and loss have since changed his mind. He has learned to be content in simplicity. One partnership, one family, one relationship to nurture. He does not want to complicate his life anymore. He admits that the emotional cost has been too great. Perhaps too late, he's learned that happiness doesn't always grow through love. Sometimes it divides and breaks hearts. But the woman beside him is still grieving. She mourns not only the people who were lost, but the collapse of a life plan that she had adored. It was not marriage to her. It had been a calling, a sacred vocation. Her hope had been that women would live together as partners, raise children in a faith-filled, loving home, and be support for each other. Now she is faced with the reality that this dream is no longer a possibility. With the chapter of polyamory being closed by her partner, she is left with an uncertain future, holding on to the pages that remain. One finds comfort in the silence, and the other longs for the music of the voices that used to fill their life together. There is a strange duality to this. They say so much with their silence in the silent house. He wants her to still see him, and he wants her to be able to let go of their past. They are both attempting, but neither knows if it will be sufficient. They've come to signify a greater relational truth. When one shifts, the whole dynamic does. The present has its own imperatives, regardless of the shared past. The future is new terrain for the two of them. The transition from a communal compound to a quiet home has not been easy, and confusion has necessarily resulted. Jealousies, disappointments, and ultimately acceptance were all part of the journey. Dreams evolved, children grew up, and the shiny dream of a shared future slowly lost its sparkle. There are no co-wives to lean on one another, no communal parenting strategies, and no large family gatherings in this new world. There are just two people trying to figure out if what remains is enough to carry them forward into the future. For her, this requires courage. Courage of the kind that involves letting go of a dream she once held dear. For him, it requires vulnerability. Openness to the fact that the life he worked so hard to build didn't quite work out as planned.